From the 27 books I've written so far, Dalry, The Strange Journey. The title of the book in the US, it's published under the title of The Strange Journey of Alice Pendelbury. From all the books I've written so far, I think it's a one where I don't want to say I enjoyed the most, but I always keep a really great memory of writing this book. And I believe I have never felt as close to a character as I felt with Easton Daldry. I mean, not saying that I'm him, but he really became my best friend while I was writing this novel. It's a mix of a lot of things. It's a book. Every word of this book is about love, and not in the naive meaning of it. In for me, there is nothing more complicated, subtle, intelligent um, than loving. I mean, hating is really easy. I mean, it's the most. I mean, it's the dramatically easiest thing that you can do. Hating. But loving, I mean, it requires a lot of intelligence, not culture. Huh? I'm talking about intelligence. You don't need to have a high degree to be able to love. Um, but love requires a lot of intelligence. And this is exactly what this book is about. It's about these two characters, and they're both, in a way, they have a life, they are acting. The book is settled in the 50s. It starts in London, and the journey is in the mostly in Istanbul in the 50s. And it's a journey through the emotion and the sense. So why I wanted her to be a nose? Because let me try to put it this way. The big question is, why do we write? And I think that we write because there is a lot of things that we cannot express out loud. Why do we write a love letter? Because it's really hard to say out loud, I love you. And it's not easier, but maybe it's deeper to write it. You can say, love you. My daughter, every time she she feels that, she has done something rude, or she say, love you. But sometimes she takes a piece of paper and she write it. She write a note of love. And I think that we write because there is a lot of things and emotion that we cannot say it out loud. And I think that we dance for the same reason. I think that we sculpt, we paint, we sing, we cook, we do a lot of things because talking is not the only way of expressing yourself. And some people do it by being aware of it, and some people do it naturally without being aware of it. I know a cook in France, and it's funny because he's, the big grumbling guy, always, pretending to be in a bad mood, always yelling in his kitchen. And I remember because he's a friend, and I told him one day, "You're so full of shit." And he said, "What?" And I say, you play the big guy like this. You just love. You're 100% emotional." And he said, "What?" And I looked at the plate, that was just, made out of his hand. And I say, "Look at me and tell me this is not love, that this does not require a sensibility that you deny it every day. You wouldn't have put the flowers, all those colors, the way you put the oil, everything." And he looked at me and he said, "Get out of my kitchen." But with the face that was saying the opposite. And that's Daldry. Daldry is extremely shy. Daldry is absolutely unable to love himself. And he has such a low consideration of himself that when he fell crazily in love with Alice, he believed that the biggest proof of love that he can do for her is to never try to do anything to seduce her because she deserved better than him. And Alice, she has this incredible talent. She's a nose, which means that her emotion are through the sense of the perfumes and all the smells, and those smells are going to drive her really like a mystery game on the past of her past and her real identity. And the encounter of those two characters was for me one of the most delightful to write because it's all about humor and deep feelings and shyness. When I wrote Alice, The Strange Journey of Alice Pendelbury, you have no idea how many months I spent doing research on how Istanbul was in the 50s. I traveled to Istanbul many times. I was able to find in the archive a 600 pages book of made by a geographer in the 50s about every street in Istanbul. And this book became my Bible. So it's really like, I set up a time clock and I was living in Istanbul in the 50s. And there was no part for improvisation. I wanted that, if someone that had grew up in the 50s in Istanbul was reading my book, because I knew that the book would be published in Turkey, in Turkey, because I have a lot of readers over there. I wanted them to be convinced that I grew up in Istanbul in the 50s, even if I wasn't born yet. It was really important to me to really be truthful about what was Istanbul in the 50s when they traveled there.